questions, but I'm sure that I will never be able to ask that many questions. That's different. But I think what is important is that all of us actually try to give as precise, as brief answers as possible, so that we can take as many questions as possible. And we also have a substantially good number of speakers on board right now. We have 8 of us. So Vikram is joining in about 2 minutes, and Peda Ravinder is coming in some time. So I think we should be able to begin in the next 3 to 4 minutes, maybe late by about 5 minutes. Yeah.
No issues. Now, we haven't gone air, like, I mean, now the participants can hear us.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Sanjeev, hi, this is Reggie from ITLN. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Reggie, tell me.
Thanks. Good morning. I just want to check your audio is in right now. Thanks.
Morning.
We should be able to begin in the next 2 to 3 minutes. Just waiting for 2 more people to join.
Sure.
Nice, Mr. Ravinder. You are in full suit. It's
I've been wearing informal for such a long time. I said it's high time to change it for wear formals for a change.
In fact, every day I have arranged a home office system set up in my home in a study room, and every day I wear formals and go to office.
Oh, okay.
I know, to get that seriousness.
Just to get the feel that you are actually working.
Yeah, actually working, yes.
Strangely, work from home is more stressful than working from the office, actually.
Oh, is that, but probably all of us must be putting in much more number of hours than if we were to be working from office.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
It's Hriday from Ashwina Trading Company.
Hi, Hriday. Good morning. Welcome. This is Reggie from Indian Transport and Logistic News, your moderator today.
Hello.
Welcome. Hi.
Thank you.
I think we are just waiting for, I think we're just waiting for Ravinder from Apeda.
Okay.
I think with that, I think we should be able to begin.
Sure.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible there?
You're not fully audible. I think you have to maybe check your internet or pull your laptop towards you.
And I am audible?
Yeah, who is that, Vikram?
Yeah, this is Vikram here.
Yeah, Vikram. Okay, yeah, good morning. Welcome. We can hear you.
Good morning. Sorry for the delay.
No problem.
Reggie, I think everybody is in as a...
No, I think Peda is the only person that is missing right now.
It's 7:33. Okay.
I think we should start in the next 2 minutes. Yes.
35.
Yes.
Reggie, is someone handling the chat?
Yeah, we have one of my colleagues actually tracking all the questions and chats. Yes, but if you find anything that if you are, I really do not want you to kind of spend your time looking at that, because I think you would want to kind of pay attention to what is being discussed. But if you find that something can be answered, if there are certain questions very specific to the speaker concerned, if something that you would want to answer, you can actually go ahead and answer. There's no problem.
Okay.
Chetan, if you can hear me, I think we will begin right now. I think we're just waiting for Ravindra to join from APIDA. I think we will get him along as he joins. I think we should start right now. We can take the holding side. Yeah. Thanks. I think now we are able to see everyone. Yeah. I think Chetan has begun the recording of this. The same will be recorded and will be available on. Good morning. I think Ravindra also was joined from APIDA. Good morning, Ravindra. Welcome. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Ravindra. Can you hear us? Ravindra? Ravindra, can you? I think your audio is mute now. Ravindra, can you hear?
Mr. Ravindra now.
Ravindra, can you speak something so that we will just ensure that your audio is good? Hi, Ravindra. Good morning. This is Reggie from ITLN. Can you hear me? I think he is unable to hear us, but I think I just asked somebody to reach out to you.
Hello.
Hello? Ravindra? Yeah, we can hear you, Ravindra. Thanks. Okay, I think let's begin. I think we will start. A colleague of mine will reach out to Ravindra and we'll make sure that he's on board. Good morning and very warm welcome to each one of you for the second edition in a series of webinars organized by Indian Transport and Logistics News, which is the publication from the Stat Media Group, business-to-business trade publication in the transportation and logistics space. A very, very warm welcome to each one of you. I would especially welcome each of our speakers. We have an impressive list of speakers cutting across different value chain in the perishable logistic value chain. 8 of them joining us here for the next 1 hour for discussing an important topic on the perishable transport amid COVID, and specific topic of the discussion is tackling uncertainties in the perishable supply chain amid COVID-19. All of us are aware the world is going through one of the toughest crises in the history, and all of us are affected, almost in a very uniform manner and fashion. We all of us have changed our habits in terms of working from home, we are dealing with a crisis on a daily basis. We are looking at how we operate our business, conduct our business on a daily basis, looking at every challenge that is ahead of us. The way that we go ahead in the next 1 hour or 1 hour 20 minutes is that I have a very brief introduction to the topic, and then I introduce each of the speakers briefly, after which I invite each of the speakers to make a very brief and precise comment on the current state of affairs as far as your business is concerned in the COVID crisis, particularly with reference to the perishables supply chain. When I say perishable, these are vital, essential commodities that we require to have at our homes for our well-being, for our health, for example. Let's steer our discussion very specifically around this topic. We also have to look at the fact that for the first time, logistics and cargo is getting a prominence like never we have seen in the history. It is important that all of us are actually at the forefront. Some of us are working from home, but many of our colleagues are out in the field operating under very trying and challenging circumstances. For example, we are ensuring that people are fed, farmers are finding their markets for their produce, because it would be a monumental failure for each one of us to allow our farm produce to get wasted when people need food, for example, in different parts of the world. And people have spent their life and resources to produce these produces, for example. With a brief note, let me introduce my panel members joining for this interesting discussion and debate. We have with us Kaushal Kakkar. He is the CEO of KB Exports. In fact, KB Exports have just completed 31 years in business. It's a business that's started by his father, Prakash Kakkar. It's one of the biggest perishable exporters out of Mumbai, and KB Exports actually ships to major European and US US destination markets, for example. Company started by his father in 1989, and he also has an in-house freight forwarding division. Their fruits, vegetables are exported to key markets in Americas and Europe. Kaushal joins for this discussion along with his supply chain manager, Karan Mangi. Kaushal probably would have to leave sometime during this discussion because he's been quite busy with some urgent office work. So I would allow him to the first comments, and then as and when he would like to leave the conversation, he's free to do so. So as I said, he's joined by also Karan Mangi, the supply chain manager for KB Exports. So Karan actually knows what actually goes in the business, so he would be able to share a significant amount of information and input into the perishable supply chain and what are the typical challenges in the perishable supply chain for domestic purposes as well as for export. Welcome both Kaushal and Karan. It's a pleasure to have both of you in this discussion. We are also joined by Hriday Kirit Bhuptani. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Ashwina Trading. Again, another important perishable exporter from Mumbai, from India. They have built its own model farm to teach local producers good farming practices to grow residue-free product. And they specialize in export of residue-free okra, green chili, bitter gourd to European Union and other markets. It's the first time we are having Hriday Kirit Bhuptani and Ashwina Trading in our discussion, and it's I'm extremely happy to have Hriday joining us on this discussion. Thanks, Hriday, for joining us. Welcome on board.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And we have again from the agricultural produce farming community exporter side, we also have Ravindra Rangarao. He is the Deputy General Manager and Regional Head for Western Region of Agricultural and Processed Food Products Export Development Authority, which is APEDA. APEDA is an apex body under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, responsible for export promotion of agricultural products. I think APEDA plays a significant role in the current crisis in order to make sure that their member organizations or the exporters as well as farmers affiliated to APEDA have a market for their produce, both in the domestic as well as for export. Ravindra, it's a pleasure having you join us for this discussion. I know it's a very trying and tough time for you to kind of spend about an hour and a half for this discussion, but I think it's worthwhile that you share inputs on what happens on the perishable supply chain, what actually is going in the agri-business, so that you would be able to offer some important perspective in this discussion. Thanks, Ravindra, for joining. Next, we have...
Thank you, Mr. Vijay. Look forward to a good interaction.
Thanks, Ravindra. And we have Sanjeev Gupta. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Spice Express. You know, Spice Express is a cargo division of SpiceJet. I think if you look at the sky today, there are not too many planes flying around. I think what you see probably is a SpiceJet planes, both the freighter planes as well as some of their passenger planes being converted as a cargo only carrier. They are actually loading cargo on the passenger cabins of their Boeing 737-800 planes. They have started sometime last week, and I think they are doing a phenomenally good work in terms of making sure your vital supplies, which includes also your perishable produce and other food materials, reaches the markets, reaches the destination, reaches the needy. Sanjeev Gupta, it's a pleasure having you here with us, and we look forward to have a very interesting discussion from a carrier's perspective, from a cargo carrier perspective. Welcome, Sanjeev. Next, we have Ravinder Volanti. He's the head of cargo of AI Sites. AI Sites is a joint venture between Air India as well as SATS. While Ravinder represents AI Sites, which has got a Coolport, India's first integrated on-airport perishable cargo handling center at Kempegowda International Airport in Bangalore. He also represents the Bangalore Airport, because this facility, this Coolport, is on airport land. So he can actually give us a perspective in terms of the cargo handling, the amount of perishable export that comes into Bangalore Airport, and what are some of the typical challenges that he faces or ASIs face in a situation something like this, where you have significant challenges of shortage of labor and things like that. Ravinder, it's a pleasure having you here, and we look forward to have very worthwhile discussion on the perishable cargo handling challenges and opportunities out of Kempegowda International Airport, Bangalore, representing AI Sites. Welcome, Ravinder, on board.
Equally mine too.
Thanks. We have two more people to be introduced. We have Kiran Guba. He is the director and CEO of Guba Cold Storage. Again, Guba Cold Storage, they are one of the biggest cold storage companies in India. I think they have about 1.25 crore cubic feet and 1.5 lakh tons operating across 9 locations in Hyderabad and Aurangabad. Again, they are a 3-decade-old company with significant expertise in cold storage sector. And they also now have moved into critical pharmaceutical preservation as well. Of course, today, Kiran joins us to discuss specifically on the cold storage facilities for the perishable transport. Like I said before, the last thing that we would want to have is that food produce, agricultural produce getting wasted because we do not have the infrastructure. That actually is a serious issue that we deal with, particularly at this time. We have to make sure that every piece of food item is served. It's stored properly, and it reaches people who are hungry for food, people who are actually locked up at homes, and they need to have access to fresh fruits and vegetables and other fresh food materials. Thanks, Kiran. It's a pleasure having you join us and offer a perspective from the cold storage warehousing sector.
Thank you, Reggie.
Last but not least, another important stakeholder in the agricultural or perishable logistic value chain is Vikram Khurana. He is the director of Shidal Parivahan, which provide in and out temperature controlled refrigerator storage and delivery of sensitive goods. Today we are talking about perishable produce. You can have best of the produce produced in the outskirts of or in the remote locations of the country, but you need a reefer trucking solution or a trucking company to make sure that they reach the destined market through reefer trucking solutions and reaches the cargo terminals of airport for export facilities or any other what's called vegetable mandis or APMC markets to make sure that they are ready for distribution. Thanks, Vikram Khurana. We look forward to have an interesting discussion and debate on this. With that note, once again, a very warm welcome to each of the speakers and a very warm welcome to a number of participants joining for this critical discussion on the perishable logistic and what are the uncertainties that we face as we move into the second phase, as we are already into the second phase of lockdown, which will end only by the 3rd of May, for example. We are uncertain, we do not know, it may still be extended, but we have a number of agricultural produce that comes up. We have seasonal fruits and vegetables. Mango season is coming up. The best of the mangoes, we don't know whether we have access to them once they are ready, whether those produce would find their market, find their way into the markets outside in India as well. Transport plays an important role, and I'm looking forward for an interesting discussion with each one of you. With that note, I'm just open up the first question to everyone. Basically, give us a sense of the current crisis that you face with regard to your business, and how well prepared are you in terms of your operational efficiencies. And as and when things get back to normalcy, how many days would it take for you to kind of get 100% operations in 100% operations? My only request is that make your comments as brief as possible so that we have it becomes a much more rapid fire question and answer, so we can take a lot more questions. Over to Kaushal, if you could start, because I know that you are pressed for time. Probably you could leave after making some important initial comments. Kaushal.
Thank you, Reggie, and good morning to everybody who is listening to this webinar. So I have 3 different stages of decision making to make when we discuss about the constraints. I think the first one is the moral dilemma that we have, that do we really want to kickstart this when there is a challenge with social distancing and all those norms. So in the first 1 week, we were more concerned about making sure that the people, the stakeholders that we work with, they all are safe and sound. Once we realized that yes, some social distancing can be ensured, then we also saw the government kick into action and a lot of clarification came through, where there was a lot of encouragement for fresh produce supply chain to continue uninterrupted. So it is easier said than done, but yes, we do see the government do a large part of clarifications and very clear signs that there is no restriction on fresh produce procurement or exports. Credit has to go to even APIDA. Mr. Ravindra is here, and a lot of calls happened on Zoom with all the APIDA officials, even trade meetings happening to ensure that work is uninterrupted. I think the third stage, of course, is the airline freight cost. While we have managed to secure our operations in a respectable manner and get support from the government as well in ensuring that we tide through the crisis, the final hurdle still is the air freight charges, which are quite high. I understand that with only freighters operating and then very high cost to operate those freighters, the airlines are struggling to keep costs down. But there is a limit to which customers will pay a particular price for air freight product, or we will face the long-term prospect of people moving to frozen as a source of consumption. So frozen are actually is able to access all world markets, but fresh is limited with all the quarantine accesses. So there are a long list of challenges that we have to face, be it people reporting to work or not, drivers reporting to work or not. And then also the other aspect is the social ostracization which happens. So if there are people who come to work, then they may not get welcome back in their own villages or in their own homes because of challenges with their neighbors. So these are amongst a long list of challenges that we have to tide through. But I'm glad to say that with all the support from everybody, we have been able to continue to ship, and we are doing about 10 to 20% of the normal volume, but hoping to go up to 50% once the full lockdown is lifted on 3rd of May.
Reggie, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, Kaushal, a quick follow-up question. You said you are right now about 10 to 20% of your normal capacity or normal export volume that is going. So you have access to both the freighter capacity as well as the passenger turned cargo only flights of some of the Middle Eastern carriers. Is that correct?
That's right. Freighters as well as ferry flights, as they are called, where only the passenger aircrafts but without the passengers. There is also a fair bit of special flights which are being organized by various countries to repatriate their citizens who are stuck in India. So even those flights, which as and when they come up for cargo possibilities, we use them as well.
But have you ever used some of the repatriation flights? If I'm not mistaken, they normally don't carry cargo.
No, they do. So they do have to get a special permission for that. So Virgin Atlantic operated 2 flights out of Mumbai last week, and they did manage to carry some cargo out of that. So we are clinging on to any option that is available.
Very good. And you are using all the airlines that are coming into India right now, operating into India, both the freighter as well as the passenger cargo. You are not close to any particular airline. You are open to pick up space in any airline.
Absolutely, we can't pick and choose at this moment. So any option that is available that suits our pricing, we go with it.
Okay. On one last question on the pricing. I don't know. Nobody discussed pricing here, but what is the freight rate that have gone up by? What can you kind of quantify it by percentage terms? How much it has gone up by? I know like used to be $1.5 $1 per kg, which is now today is gone. People do say about $8 per kg. So from your experience, what is the kind of gem spike that you have seen in the freight rate?
So I'll speak specifically about London as a sector because we specialize more in London terminating cargo. It was roughly in the region of 80-85 for $1.1 $1.2 a kilo before the crisis started.
Okay.
In the first 1 week, the pricing was around 200, so it was more like $2.5 approximately. But then now it has jumped to 250, and now we are approaching 275, 300. So it's a very, very steady jump. And surprisingly, the foreign markets are encouraging these prices. There is still demand at these prices. So hence we are forced to load. Otherwise, we would have just said no to the airline. But then there are other people in the industry with the demand supply forces equalizing. As of now, we find the prices around 250 on an average for most European destinations.
Thanks, Kaushal. Let me get Hriday, because I think Hriday would be able to confirm some of what Kaushal said, because I think he also most of his cargo moves out of Mumbai. Hriday, what has been your observation on rates, capacity? What are some of the typical challenges for Ashwina Trading?
See, as far as the challenges are concerned, the biggest challenge what we are facing at the moment is the freight. As rightly Kaushal also pointed out, but I would also like to share on this platform, our total invoices to our clients, I don't mind sharing this, it consists of almost 40 to 45% of our freight part. So for example, if my total invoice is rupees 100, my 45 rupees is only the freight part. So if the capacity of the airlines to lift the cargoes have gone down, the freight goes up, wherein it will be very difficult for us if the other countries who are supplying the similar products like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, if they will start their export, which they usually do once our freight or once India faces any crisis or there are some products ban or something like that, then they jump on the situation and they definitely benefit out of it. So we need to keep in mind that we are not the only country who is exporting this products. There are African countries, there are Sri Lanka, Pakistan, as I said. And recently, today, I'll give you the example of today. Our one chili, green chili, which is in great demand in European countries, is costing us almost 20 euros per box. And Pakistan, right now, they have just come up with 12 euros a box in the market, in a European market, just because of the freight price. Because their government is controlling the airlines, they are measuring what till how much level they can raise their freights, and which we are also hoping that our government should be doing. And definitely APEDA is working very closely towards the upliftment and the benefit of the exporters. I'm sure this matter will also be taken up by APEDA. But this is the key thing which we are facing problem with.
Ritesh, one quick question. You said 20 euros per box. What is the weight of that?
That is approximately around 5 kgs net weight, so approximately 6 kgs gross weight.
6 kg gross weight. Okay. Ritesh, also just a quick follow-up question. I don't want to miss out on some of the finer details. What have you seen in terms of dip in your export volume in the lockdown period? Of course, you mentioned about the freight rate, but what have you seen? Have you what kind of dip have you?
Definitely, see, we have seen a vertical dip, not even a steady curve, but it is a vertical dip. It is almost gone down by 90%. So, but positively speaking, we are in the industry wherein we can definitely come up and rise again as soon as the things are normal in European markets as well.
Thanks. Let me get Ravindra from APEDA. I think APEDA plays a significant role. I think there's a lot of government interventions, government advisory coming in each time or every day on a regular basis in order to make sure that agricultural produce find their marketplaces, for example. Ravindra, give us a perspective of what has been APEDA's involvement with people like Kaushal, Ritesh, and several thousands of other exporters of agri-produce.
Yeah, good morning, Riji. Good morning to all the panelists. And then, I think from APEDA, we have been quite proactive in reaching out to the people. We have almost talked to nearly more than 1,000 exporters to know about their difficulties, what they are, and to know what is their strength now, and to know what has been happening for these exports, and then which are the bottlenecks where they are trying to, where they are, facing. So all that, in fact, every day there is a conference call which is being taken by our chairman, and then we report to him on all the activities, what is being done for a day, and then it is being very closely monitored. In fact, in my 30 years of my service in APEDA, I think this is the first time where I think we must have gone for a outreach to the exporters to the maximum extent, because we understand this is time where they need the help. So I think there are a lot of areas where we have intervened. Perhaps I would reserve that during the part of the question and answer session. But on the overall, I think there is a problem. I think most of the units are operating at around 25% of the capacity, and then there is a serious issue of labor, and then there is a serious issue of the drivers' availability. Though the containers are there, the driver availability is that we are in regular touch with JNPT, where the container movement is monitored. Right now, it's only 50% of the container movement is happening over there because the drivers are not available. And then there are a lot of directives which is being issued by the Ministry of Health and which are being passed down to the district authorities, there are some teething problems. In fact, I was in the morning discussing with the Maharashtra State Agriculture Marketing Board. And then he was telling me, being a government officer, my vehicle from Bombay to Pune was stopped in at least 4 or 5 places for checking, though it's a government vehicle. So there are certain issues at the ground level which needs to be addressed too. But there are a lot of measures being announced by the Ministry of Commerce and APIDA for the benefit, which I think I will take up when I come for the discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Ravindra. One quick follow-up question on you said about 50% reduction on the container movement as far as APIDA is concerned from JNPT, for example. Any numbers available for your dip in volume by air out of Mumbai airport?
See, basically, air cargo is almost practically down to nil. So I think what we have been doing now is that there is a committee which is being headed by the additional Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, and there is a group where we interact every day to find the ways of improving the exports, the air cargo exports. As far as the perishables are concerned. So only I think we have successfully exported 2 chartered flights from Mumbai, one to Lufthansa, that was yesterday, and then 2 days back to London. And then tomorrow there is a flight which is going from Cochin, it is going to UAE. So now, and there are few flights which has been lined up from Calcutta. I think SpiceJet has come forward to pick up the cargo from Calcutta, and then it's moving there. So every day it's being monitored, and then what we are trying to do is, wherever there is an incoming cargo, we have lot from China coming in. So we are trying to explore what can be exported to the China at a very cheap rate, at a very, very affordable rate. The exports can go to China, and whereas to Europe and to destinations like to London. There are a lot of outbound cargo, like there is a lot of vegetables which there is a demand over there, and then the exporters are happy to give the vegetables, though the freight cost, as Mr. Kaushal was telling me, it's quite high. But still people would like to send because there are people to buy there. But the inbound cargo is low, so that's where the airlines are finding little difficult to operate, because unless they get a good inbound cargo, the freight cost will be still higher. So wherever there is a good inbound cargo, it's easy for us to work on it.
Thanks, Ravindra. Let me get Sanjeev Gupta of Spice Express into the discussion. Sanjeev, this is reference to what Ravindra also said about the directional imbalance or a trade imbalance. You have on one direction you have cargo going, but then on the other direction you don't have the cargo coming in, for example. This has been a very pertinent problem for the African carriers when we did the discussion last week, because of which the freight rates are going beyond the roof, and it is almost impossible for a lot of the airlines to operate. Sanjeev, tell us what has been SpiceJet or Spice Express initiatives. We've seen freighter movements within the country, outside. You have flown up to Shanghai, Pudong quite recently. Give us a sense of what actually going on with Spice Express as far as perishable produce, as well as your freighter movement, both within the domestic as well as international routes are concerned.
So, we have 5 freighters, and these are short-range freighters, so we can't go to Europe and Africa. We go to Middle East, we go to Hong Kong and Southeast Asia, we go to China, we go to SAARC countries. Earlier we used to run the freighters mostly on domestic legs as normal scheduled routes, but that actually went out of the window during the lockdown. So currently our 5 freighters are flying to Middle East with a lot of perishables from Kerala, from Calicut, from Kochi, from Chennai, from Delhi, from Bombay. we do full freight. We do full charters. We don't run price per kg flights. We do full charters for retailers or forwarders. As you know, the cargo is only exported. Nothing comes back. So therefore, we have to charge for the full flight. Besides, we've sent perishables on our Singapore flights. Again, charters. We've sent perishables on our Maldives flights. Within the country, we do a lot of charters for the shrimp market, the marine market, which we've been doing. We recently started cargo on seat on both our Boeings and the Bombardiers, where we publish schedules every day, and which anybody, whether they're doing medicines or they're doing perishables, they can reach out to. So I think that's where we are. We are running at about 30-40% of what we used to carry earlier, but our freighters are pretty full because besides perishables, there is a great need to bring in medical supplies and medical raw materials and medical equipment from China and other places, and to send out essentials to other parts of the Southeast Asia, like Rangoon, like Bangkok, etc. So I hope that answers your question.
Sanjeev, one question on you said about again the directional imbalance on the trade, for example. Any specific trade lanes that there you find there is a balance on direction in terms of the cargo movement? Middle East, of course, may not be that you carry perishables to the Middle Eastern destination. There's probably nothing coming back in your aircraft back into India. But what about China and other Southeast Asian locations? Are you picking up medical, COVID-related medical kits and other PPE stuff?
Yeah, China primarily is medical equipment, medical kits, medical or medicine raw material, which we brought back yesterday to Hyderabad. Singapore is electronics for ventilators. So from here, from Bangalore, we certainly have taken some perishables. But to the southeast is mostly inwards, and to the Middle East it's mostly outwards.
And Sanjeev, you said about 5 freighters on operation right now, and how many of the passenger planes, which are cargo only, how many of them have been deployed by SpiceJet right now?
So we try and do about two, three planes, which actually go across the country, go from Delhi to Calcutta to Guwahati, then come to Hyderabad and so do a 10-hour, 12-hour rotation, because there is not enough cargo, because there is no production of what mostly goes in. There's no e-commerce happening.
Can you hear?
There is no electronic in a day across the country.
Okay, and one more question. In terms of the utilization of your freighter, what is the kind of utilization that you see? It's like 15, 16, 17 hours?
Yeah, we are doing about 14, 15 hours a day these days.
Okay, and on your passenger cabin cargo, is there any restriction on what kind of cargo can be loaded? Can you also put vegetable boxes on the seats as well? Or it's just the COVID related medical supplies?
No, there are pretty strict guidelines of DGCA, so we can't put dangerous goods, we can't put liquids, we can't put marine products. But yes, we can put vegetable boxes because we put seat covers and then follow the DGCA guidelines. So we've done that. We've carried about 13, 14 tons in a plane, about 7 tons in the belly and about 7 tons in the cabin in some of these flights.
Thanks, Sanjeev. Interesting insights coming from Spice Express. Let me get Ravinder Bolanti from AI Sites. Ravinder, you represent again an important stakeholder, cargo ground handling, and you operate the cool port at Bangalore International Airport. You indirectly also represent Bangalore Airport. Give us your perspective from the cargo ground handling operations side. How do you see our perishable movement happening? What do you see is the dip in the volume that is handled? Are you end up storing perishable cargo in your cool port much longer period of time? Give us a sense of what is happening in the cool port in Bangalore.
Thank you, Reggie. It's very simple. You see, definitely since the lockdown started, for the first few days until 28th or 29th of March, there was absolutely no movement of perishable cargo out of Bangalore. It's only when Emirates started operating their passenger flights for cargo purposes only that perishable movement started. Now, before the lockdown, the normal daily average of perishables, at least, I mean, I'm only talking in terms of what AI SATS handles at the cool port. We were handling on an average about 55 metric tons a day, a daily average, which has now come down to almost 9 metric tons per day. So you can imagine that there's almost 80+% drop in terms of volumes. Primarily, again, the drop in volumes are basically because, number one, the cross-border movement has actually stopped. So most of the produce that is actually coming from the neighboring states, those have not been moving. Secondly, as Kaushal said, the air freight rates have really spiked because of the demand situation and the higher cost of operating these flights just for cargo purposes only. So it's only the commodity, the perishable commodity, that can afford the air freight rate that are currently being exported. And again, it depends on whether the buyer is willing to pay that high cost to get the shipment uplifted from India. So because of that, the volumes have dropped substantially, and it's dropped to almost by 80+% in the last since the lockdown started.
But Ravinder, do you see, you said about on average it's about 9 metric tons daily, which used to be 55 metric tons earlier in the normal time. So it's a new normal. Do you see a slight uptick in ever since Emirates started, Emirates and the other, I think Qatar also operates SpiceJet as well. Do you see an uptick?
The uptick is definitely going to be there, because once the capacity situation improves, I'm sure the air freight costs also will probably become more affordable with additional capacity coming. So I definitely see the cargo volumes improving over a period of time, because again, I think there's a lot of demand coming, especially from the Middle East, where most of these vegetables and fruits go. So I definitely see an uptick once the Middle East carriers start taking more export cargo out of Bangalore.
Ravinder, one quick question. Have you seen full charter? I'm talking about the cargo planes, cargo freighters being only for perishable out of Bangalore. I'm not talking about the passenger Emirates Qatar passenger cargo planes, but full charter, full of perishables moving out, means taking off from Bangalore, because it's also mango season. I do have seen pictures of Middle Eastern carrier freighters actually carrying 100 tons of mangoes out of Bangalore and the other places. Have you seen something like that?
So far, we haven't seen any full freighter operations carrying just perishable cargo. Once the mango season starts, it's already now starting. Once it's in the full season, then we'll have to see if these charters will take place. Currently, although most of the airlines are operating cargo flights, what we see is while the perishable cargo is much lower in terms of volumes, what we currently see moving is a lot of pharma out of Bangalore. Also, other than pharma, you see a fair amount of general cargo also moving out. So ultimately, we'll have to see how the situation improves, and with more planes operating, Middle Eastern carriers operating cargo flights, and the capacity increases, I'm sure we will see a lot more perishable cargo moving, and we may as well be able to see some charter movements as well.
Thanks. Let me get Kiran into the discussion. Kiran, are your cold storage is empty? Are you seeing perishable goods moving into it, into your cold storages, cold warehouses? Give us a sense of what is happening from Hyderabad and the other places you operate from.
Yeah. So namaskar. So like initially Modi said, "Jaan hai to jahan hai," and then he said, "Jaan bhi aur jahan bhi." So if you look at as a human beings, we need food and medicine. Those are critical most things which we need. And no, like if my daughter wants a roti or a medicine, we the human beings have to create it, handle it. So now a stage has come now, see people now coming out of their homes, and let me put it in a, this is shocking. Okay, fine. So a stage has come where people have to come out of the homes and start start being responsible and do what's needed. People's management has now become the biggest challenge for us. Now there's a lot of imbalance right now. We are forklift operator doesn't come, the operations team come, the technical team doesn't come. Those imbalances are already there in our space. So right now, if you look at in our cold storage in our 3 sectors, seed we are operating around 50% or so. In frozen, which is the most hit, we are operating at barely 10-15% of a normal case, and pharma we are operating on 50% also. Frozen, because see, people are not going out and eating ice creams or buying what you call pizzas or whatever. So when the kharidi nahi hai, to hamare paas log kyun aayenge lene ke liye? So that is where we are right now. The biggest thing right now is right now, every day is a new day. Every day is a challenging day. Keep empowering your team. Every day beat them, listen them out, talk to them. Because one, say, I'm having 17 locations. Agar ek location mein kuch bhi locha hua, khatam, that will the entire operations will stall. So suddenly the green zones are converting into red zones. So we have to be all the more alert. See, where is the cargo moving from where to where? So it's a very irritating space right now for everybody. The same work which used to happen in an hour is now taking half a day, with a lot of more irritation, more stretch for everybody, right from the top to the least management. Like हमारे पास जब truck drivers आते हैं, we also offer them food, and for them it's like सोने पे सुहागा. For that morsel of food, what we offer them, a glass of water, what we offer them, these are the things which we, the promoters, the Indian industry, India Inc. need to take care of our people. That's critical most. Every day is a new day. Yesterday kuch nahi hua, that doesn't mean kal kuch nahi hone wala hai. No, every day is a different ball game.
Thanks, Kiran. I think there is a lot of irritation, frustration that each one of us go through, because we normally get used to something that is getting completed in 5 minutes, which takes about like 15 minutes now. So it is certainly a point of irritation, a factor that will actually frustrate each one of us. But we have to now make sure that we deal with that on a daily basis. We prepare our mindset accordingly. Let me get Vikram Kurana into the discussion. I think Vikram will have a lot of stories to tell. I think he would be struggling to get drivers on board to drive the trucks from various locations into the warehouses and to the airport cargo terminals and to the seaport. Vikram, tell us the moments of joy and moments of irritation, frustration for you in the COVID-19 crisis.
It's actually a challenging situation every day, every hour, every minute. We guys are covering distances from 50 kilometers to almost 1800 kilometers in a day. There are lots of issues happening at JNPT, which is the import and the export hub. There are lots of issues happening at the Mumbai Air Cargo, where we have to maintain the temperature, we have to keep the cargo alive, so that there is not any kind of a discrepancy in the entire transit or the entire journey. And on the other hand, like there was a lot of havoc between the drivers, because they were in a fear that they will get stuck in transit and they have no other alternate just to run away. And trust me, we guys have tried our level best. There is a dedicated team who is running on the field with all the necessary permissions, so that the cargo moves safely from the plant till the warehouse or the airport, whether it is for exports or import. And second thing is, I have lots of trucks which are stuck on the highway carrying live cargo, especially the pharma, which is meant for exports, as well as your frozen food products, which is basically your cheese and your butter, which is a daily necessary consumption. And what I have seen is, we have to motivate our team on a day-to-day basis, so that they don't come into a fear that nobody is taking care of us, because it is we who are on the road taking the responsibility on our shoulder. We need 100 out of 100 every day in all the the tasks that we have been given. We can't have an excuse. I have to see that my drivers get their food and their necessary medications or whatever precautionary measures that we have to follow, so that there is not any kind of a rejection at any of the road levels or at the airport or at the cargo terminals. Second, at this point of time, I have taken lots of support of the technology, because what I have done is, me and my team, we have been monitoring the entire movements from pan India on hourly basis, and we just make a point that there is a precise movement, and the trucks and trailers, they are not getting stuck at the highways. These guys, they are supported with each and every measures. We have even taken support of the police at the various levels by taking necessary permissions, so that the cargo is not stuck on the highway. Second, there were lots of issues happening, because there were lots of trucks which were being stuck at the Andhra and Telangana borders, and after 4 days or 5 days, the drivers ran away with the cargo which is there lying in their truck. So we have to even make an alternate arrangement, so that there are different drivers who approach them, take the responsibility, and start the journey towards JNPT. And as of now, I am handling 90% of my volume is basically pharma, and the rest 10% is of your food and your frozen food product. And second thing is, there's a fear in the mind of driver. They're just waiting for this closure to open up. And trust me, we will lose lots of drivers at this point of time, and we are ourselves confused, what would be the next step and how to motivate them, so that the cycle goes on and the supplies are going on a day-to-day basis. Second, since I'm more into reefers and temperature sensitive cargo, so it is the responsibility that the fuel is available, so that these reefers don't shut down. So the responsibility on the road as well as ports is so high, and the risk factor involved is so high that it's beyond comparison. And we guys are trying our level best. My entire team is working in day out with all my family members who are supporting us, so that that there's not any kind of a contingency which occurs at the last moment. And after all, we have to even take care of our drivers who are taking the responsibility on the shoulders. We even got good support from most of the pharma companies as well as the exporters, where they are sanitizing the vehicle, they are giving them food at the very last moment. Even they are giving support to the driver, so that if something happens, you don't have to worry, and we will take care of you with all the necessary precautions and the permissions from the cops and everything on the highway. Over to you, Reggie.
Thanks, Vikram. Let me get Karan to come in. Karan, I want to, because I had seen pictures of KB Exports getting your employees ready to maintain their physical and social distancing, just strictly following the COVID-19 protocols in your factories, in your farms, for example? I know the mango season is around, and it's a seasonal fruit. There's a lot of demand for that. What is the kind of supply chain, as a manager for supply chain? What are the kind of steps being taken as and when some of these things, there is a relaxation? For example, Government of India has actually allowed from 20th of April, there would be a certain amount of relaxation, which I would also want Ravindra from APEDA to talk about. Tell us, what kind of preparation do you have for some of the specific commodities which are actually seasonal?
Hi everyone, good afternoon. So, mango season, am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. So, as Kaushal and Hriday mentioned that air freight is one of our biggest constraint right now. Since there is a lot of capacity constraint, to export our regular products itself is becoming difficult. Uh, One side, we don't have a scheduled flight, scheduled freighters. We get intimation from the carriers 24 hours or 48 hours before their departures that they are operating the next flight. So it becomes very difficult for us to keep our inventories stocked up, because we are into perishable space. So we cannot keep our stocks and inventories available when as and when the airlines ask for the cargo. So it's a quite challenge right now to export our regular products. Whereas mango comes into the picture, it's always been that mango is considered to be as a high revenue product for the carriers. And at this point of time, when the normal goods are also not able to absorb the high air freight cost, mangoes will be very difficult for us to export in this current situation. So we really look forward from the air freight side that we get good support on the air freights, so that we can export mangoes. And mangoes, uh, there's a lot of supply of mangoes in India. India is one of the biggest hub of mango exports. So it will be very crucial for us to, match the demand and supply gap. We are expecting some, as you rightly said, after 20th, we are expecting some relaxations. But uh, since there is no passenger outbound, air freights we don't see will be relaxed by the airlines in the near future. Maybe even till June end, we don't see passengers being will be traveling. So one of the major revenues for the carriers are passengers. So any airline who is operating freighters or a ferry flight, their major revenue source will be of course cargo. So we don't see any price relaxations maybe till end of June. So for mangoes, it will be very difficult for us to export mangoes this year. And mangoes is a high demand product in USA, and USA is already being hit with COVID-19 very badly. So for a mango export, there is a protocol that a US inspector comes to India, inspects the cargo, and then we are able to export mangoes to USA. So in this scenario, we don't see any such facility will be available for us. So mangoes will be very difficult this year. Over to you, Reggie.
Thanks, Karen. Now, I think we're almost 1 hour into the discussion. I just want Kaushal and Hriday to come in, and then I want Ravindra from APEDA to join on the discussion, and then I open up to the some of the participants to ask the question. Kaushal and Hriday, do you have any export commitment for any of your produce? Like, for example, mango is something that you actually look at the market demand for that well in advance, and then look at exporting when the fruit is ready. Is there something like that for KB export, Kaushal?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of clients with annual contracts, and however, each contract is qualified with a force majeure clause. So this is definitely falling into that, and we don't really have to be forced to ship at those rates. everybody's considerate and they understand there is a challenge. So they are agreeing to these higher freight rates, and whoever is agreeing, then we are shipping to those companies.
Okay. Since the lockdown could be relaxed, maybe for certain sectors, like for example, agri-produce farming sector is something that would find the relaxation from 20th onwards, maybe from May. But there is a strict lockdown on the aviation passenger flights movement out. In that scenario, are you looking at rejigging your operation in such a way that you would actually get your produce into the domestic market? Is that something that you are looking at? I would want both Hriday and Kaushal to answer that. Hriday, you want to go first?
Yeah, so definitely that is one of the scenarios that we are looking into it, and we will be entering the domestic market, stating the need for the export quality, which is never available to the domestic market, because the quality is completely different. We take care of the plants, for example, the mango plants, we take care of it for like 12 months, not only during the season, which is available to the domestic market. So definitely we'll be entering the domestic market as the need is, and practically speaking, there won't be any mango season as far as export is concerned, because that comes under the luxury item. So no one will be buying no one will be buying it for 3 times or 4 times paying extra towards mango, and in this financial crisis that everyone is facing. So but we would be thankful and taking it positively that at least our industry is coming up, and at least our industry has been able to do some business in this crisis as well.
Kaushal, would you cut your losses and put your export quality produce into the domestic market, because if there is by any chance if you're unable to kind of export?
So we already had a plan to do some work in the domestic space. It was already in the pipeline. I think we'll have to rush that now, because with the situation that we are facing, having a good balance between domestic and export market will be very, very wise. So definitely something on the cards for us.
Okay. Let me get Ravindra before I open to two or three questions directly coming live from the discussion from Tushar Jani and Om Prakash Jaiswal. Ravindra, what are some of the plans that you have PEDA has in mind along the lines of following the COVID-19 strict protocols, but then at the same time relaxing certain rules for the agri-produce or agricultural sector?
Yeah, Reggie. So let me just, before going into your questions directly, I think most of the states, states like Maharashtra and then Gujarat and then Madhya Pradesh and then down south states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, they all have set up what is called as the war rooms to facilitate the logistic movement of perishable commodities. And each of these war rooms have been monitored by a very senior IAS officer at the level of secretary or at the level of the divisional commissioner. So what we do, take the example of Maharashtra. The Maharashtra State Agriculture Marketing Board is a convener of that, and then every day there is there are members drawn from various departments, like there is a member from Customs, member from JNPT, member from Phytosanitary, APIDA. We're all there and then trying to sort out the issues as soon as it comes. But most of those issues are interlinked. For example, when we started opening up the pack houses, then they wanted the labor passes. So the labor passes we facilitated. We talked to the deputy commissioner and we talked to the district magistrate in many districts and got open. But the next challenge was how many labors could they allow? Ideally, the pack house would require ideally about 100 labors to start with, a grape pack house. But what they were allowed is only about 20 or 30. So that was again a challenge to get the optimum number of people to work in the pack house. But again, we have to follow all the restrictions or all the conditions laid down by COVID. So we are trying to strike a balance where we are trying to see that, try to have a labor which is near to optimum so that the work can go. Second thing is that then the packaging material shortage came in. People were not able to pack the product because the packaging material and the stocks were over. So then we started talking to the packaging units. Most of them were closed. So we talked to them. At least now 6 packaging units in Navi Mumbai area are working now, which can supply. Again, the same procedure of applying and then getting the licenses and then see that. So wherever possible, we have intervened and saw that, I mean, the process are at least not hampered to a large extent. Then third thing is that the logistic part or the container movement. So container movement, again, we are in, as I told, we are in touch with JNPT. Now nearly about 5,000 containers are moving right now, every day, where the capacity is roughly about 12 to 13,000 containers every day. So it is running around 40% of the capacity. But the next problem what we found is that apart from the driver which I mentioned, was that the availability of the spares to repair that in case of a breakdown were not available. So again we took up, and then the spare shops, the workshops where they could repair and maintain were again synthesized, and then they were made to work, and then so that's how we started working on those challenges. Then coming on to the mango, I think there were a lot of discussion happening on mango. Right now, I think we have exported roughly about 1,000 metric tons of mangoes from Mumbai. They're all gone by sea to the Middle East destination. The mangoes which goes by air are mainly to Europe and then to US and to Japan and Korea. And this time, I mean, as far as the Europe is concerned, we need to have a treatment, the hot water treatment, which needs to be done and then exported, which has not started yet, which we hope that maybe after 20th of April, we will get some sort of a concession on that so that the people can start working on the hot water treatment facility which is required. Whereas the cases are slightly different in case of US. In case of US, their inspector has to come here, which is not going to happen this time because they are clearly told that their inspector is not going to come. So nearly 1,200 or 1,300 metric ton of mangoes which we exported to US will be at stake. But we have taken up with the ministry there to authorize our own quarantine officers to approve the irradiation and then accept that irradiation. So that process is on with the negotiation, and we would like to take up further and impress upon them, because otherwise we'll be losing the entire mango season of US. Whereas Japan have agreed, though Japan inspector also do come here during the mango season, but here they have agreed, they have authorized the Indian plant inspectors to, to do the vapor treatment and send this commodity. So we are working on the Japanese part of it. Korea, we are yet to, hear from them, because the Korean, again, the inspector has to come and then do it. But both for Japan and Korea, the volumes are not that big. So we are more concerned about the US, we are more concerned about Europe, where our real volume of business goes. Then coming on to the domestic market, vis-a-vis the export, I think right now the Alfonso products or the Alfonso mangoes are more profitably traded in the domestic market. People would like to continue for a few days more, maybe another week. And then once the production increases, and then when the domestic market can't absorb that, then they can start doing their exports. And that time the export also will ease out a bit so that we can have more exports going on. So these I thought, these are some, and then of course the Commerce Ministry has given a lot of, what you call the exemptions to the export industry, and they are available in the ministry, website, and also in the DGFT website. To quote just a few things, like, there is, EPCC license, the advanced license, all that, there is a time-bound export obligations for that. Those have been extended. 6 months extension has been granted, and then transport assistance, marketing assistance also. There is a gap of 1 year. At the end of a year, they have to submit it, which they have extended for another 3 months. And then there is each quarter they have to make an application for transport assistance, which they have extended up to September. So all that relaxation have been announced, and then they are available there in the website. And then still, if some people want to have a very specific, questions on this, I think I will take up these questions later.
Thanks, Ravindra. Let me get. I think that we are going to take a few questions from the participants. Is Mr. Jani? Can you hear me? If you can, please ask your question.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon to everybody. And the only thing which grows in now is the beard. So anybody who's the beard is a real Corona warrior. He didn't have time to shave. Anyway, I know all of you are warriors, and I know Vikram's company has been doing splendid job. I must say that. He's moving something like 150 tons of pharma every day to Mumbai. And I don't know, Vikram, how you do it, but you must write
doing pretty good.
how you have done it. I think so it will be a very motivating story. Okay, I just don't want to sound very, I would say, POD. And POD in our delivery system is proof of delivery. But our finance people in our company are called prophet of doom. And I don't want to sound prophet of doom. It's time to come. If you have heard the IATA Director General say, 55% passenger revenue will go down globally. It means if I say that 55% flights, international flights will come less into India on a passenger side. That's number one. Number two, I do not see the Indian government able to start international flight before 1st or 2nd week of August. That too also very gradually. You know, maybe start with Gulf, and then you will see physical distance, half of the capacity going empty on the aircraft. How many people will go on that aircraft? I don't know. Number one. Number two, whether people will be able to able to afford that fare, I don't know. So coming back, what I'm trying to say, this year, at least till March 2021, you will see reduction in international capacity to the down almost, in my guesstimate, is about 70%. In 30%, everybody is going to Y, that space. Be it perishable, be it electronics, be it pharma, be it whatever it is. So coming back to perishable and fruits and vegetable, the rates are going to be really skyrocket, And I don't know what we're going to do. You guys are smart and expert. Is it alternative shipping? Is it alternate domestic?
This is the top result.
Is it alternate the other mode? I don't know, but I'm putting this challenge in front of you because I know right now whatever crop you have, you'll send whatever rate people are giving you, because everybody is in herd mentality to just do it, whatever cost, just do it, get material out. But in long-term planning, and I would urge Ravindra Saab in APEDA, I think we must have a long-term strategy of next 3 years. How we're going to do with this sector, number one, how we can develop domestic, then to support slowly. Number three, I'm now saying further, and I know some of you may not like it, which I've been advocating. जब संकट होता है ना, तो माँ बाप काम में आते हैं, and your ma is Air India. I'm telling you, in time to come, Air India will be the only one who will be flying out of India. Please understand, no other airline will be able to fly. With Air India, 28, their wide body aircraft, some 100 of them, narrow body aircraft. We put Air India Express, another 50, 60 narrow body aircraft. My humble suggestion, this is a time to come around Air India and let's support Air India, because वो आपके संकट समय की साकल रहेगी. You must support Air India. I know there will be, if you don't support Air India, government will come out with a circular and force you guys to use Air India. Because I think it's rather we do it together, sit with Air India, make Air India put all these network wherever we want, right? Be it London, be it Brussels, be it New York, be it Chicago, be it South Africa, be it Singapore, Hong Kong. Let's sit with Air India and decide what we want. This is my humble request. Support Air India now. I find it sometimes difficult for them to looking for cargo. I think so it's shame on all of us. If Air India has to look and scout for cargo. I don't want to get into the freight rates. I don't know what Air India is charging, what others are charging. Let's not get into it. But my advice, my suggestion, my guidance to all the exporters, this is a time to go माँ के पल्लू में, माँ के गोद में चले जाओ. आप दूसरी जगह जाओगे, रुपया 2 रुपया के लिए long term आपको तकलीफ होने वाली है. Just to give an example, 35 flights a week, Emirates used to do in Mumbai. I might guess there will not be more than 7 flights a week. Right? Lufthansa, which was 21 flights a week into Mumbai, they may not be more than 7 flights a week. So think, this is a time to go to the mother Air India or father Air India and be with that Maharaja and be the children. This is what I wanted to suggest.
Thanks, Mr. Jani. Can we get Mohan B. Rao to ask his question? I think he is live. Please identify yourself and ask the specific question. Mohan.
Thank you so much for giving the opportunity. I am not from your industry. I am from the Management College, IES Management College in Bandra, Bombay. And thank you for the invite. My question is fairly futuristic. One in 2 parts. When do you expect normalcy to get restored? And are airlines preparing themselves or with you and operators to be ready to be taking off on 3rd of May? Presuming that 3rd of May, everything will open up. Thank you so much.
Anybody in the panel? I don't think anybody has a crystal ball to look at 3rd of May. For me, I think it's almost impossible. Anybody in the panel?
So as everybody said, only God knows when it will be opened, how it will be opened, phase-wise, so on. I don't know, but we have to keep doing the best, keep rethinking. Like I was just thinking, we all do carpooling. We have been doing carpooling for a year or so, whatever. Now time has come for cargo pooling. Now put the think tank, the industry beats have to come together. Industry, so-called rivals have to come together, think together, and carve out a solution. Bringing out the cargo pooling or whatever, how to move cargo, how to stop operating like from silos, start operating hand in glove. As Mr. Tushar Jani said, go to your mom, dad, yes, go to your brothers, because he is also willing to come to you. Yeah, I'm done.
Anybody else wants to take a guess as to May 3rd? Is that a possibility? Or like Mr. Jani said, August, first week or second week of August? Ravinder, you want make a prediction on when will the airline start flying in?
My guess is as good as yours at this moment of time.
That's right.
There's one more thing that I would like to add in. Like since most of the drivers, they are from the northern part of India, UP and Bihar and the other places, everybody is just waiting for this opening and they will try to rush back. And trust me, as of now, it is only 6 lakhs trucks in India which are running effectively, and out of which, God knows, 10% or 20% are with the cargo lying on the road. There's nobody to take care of it. And this situation might get even much more worse in the coming next 1 month. You know, if these drivers run away, the logistics will come to a standstill to an extent, and we'll have to do a lot to motivate them. Now, this is either at the airport or either at the plant level or either at JNPT. We'll have to come out with some strategy to encourage these people at the base level who are actually getting the cargo movement done, so that the aircraft can fly, an exporter can export, or an importer can import the shipment, and the supply chain goes on. So we have to come out with something at the base level, so that these guys are motivated and they don't stop and they don't run away.
Thanks.
And at this time, we have to actually take a call, like how we have to support these people so that our show goes on.
So this is for Vikram and everybody, including me and all of us. So now, let's not resist the circumstances where we are right now amidst COVID-19 circumstances. Everything is scary. Everything is precarious. Instead of 100 drivers, there are only 20 coming up, and so many things. Like you will get sweat at 42 degrees of summer. No two ways about it. Lena padega. This is it. Get it to your DNA. Get it to my DNA rather too. Now, when you are settled about it, This is what so. This is what so. People will not be the same driver is talking erratic now. The same driver wants 30% hike. The same whatever. I mean, airline is talking differently. Yes, they will talk. Start getting the reality. This is what so, and from there start speaking to people, businesses, organizations, companies, and so on. You'll have some peace. All these days, see, Corona is not that it was there some 10 years ago. No, it is sudden and nobody expected it. And we are all resisting कि हमको 3 तारीख कब आता और ये जेल में से कब निकालेंगे आप? No, उतना जल्दी मतलब I don't know how things will shape up. So again, I'm saying, don't resist the conversation. Don't resist COVID-19. Be with it. Usko apnao. Then you will have a better access to deal with circumstances. A better access. You'll have more peace because you should be at peace. Because like say Vikram or Karan or Riday, you have to be peaceful. I have to be peaceful. Then the entire company will be peaceful. Then the nation will be peaceful. I'm done.
Agree.
Thanks. Let me take a question from Raviraj from DHL Smart Trucking. Again, this is also related to some of the things that we have already discussed. But how are you overcoming challenges like passes, permissions required to transport, drivers, availability, drivers, trucks, and goods safety, which on transit, especially while crossing state borders? I'm sure that this is Vikram would be able to look at it, or I know you already spoken about how you actually manage your drivers and other labor shortages that you find permissions passes for them, because there's a lot of scare and fear among people that when they are out in the open, they're being abused and physically attacked by police officials for reasons that are known to them. While there is a permission for these people to kind of legitimately go out moving cargo, driving trucks. Any specific answer to Raviraj from DHL Smart Trucking to kind of how do we overcome some of these things from your perspective?
The thing is, it is the support that we need from the industry, and it has to come from the exporter as well as the airline or the airport authorities, or even for say JNPT. So what we have done at our level is we have spoken to lots of people at the senior level. We spoke to the cops at the senior level and police commissioners, and we took the necessary permissions. There were even cases I have diverted my truck 150, 200 kilometers just to pick up my driver so that he can come and drive my vehicle. And so that my supply chain can go on and I can pick up more cargo and deliver it at respective locations. The problem is, it's the understanding, and you have to motivate them. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult right now. And you have to be with them 24/7, motivate them, and then try to get best out of it. If something happens, you have to take the necessary permissions at all the regional levels or at the border levels or even at the RTO levels. And then we guys are doing. And we guys have even helped a couple of other players also in the market who were stuck with those kind of issues.
Okay, I will take one more. Anybody else want to answer on this specific? On how do you deal with your drivers, permissions for some of your employees for movement? Is it something that you find a big challenge in your organization? I think okay. In the apps. Oh, Kiran, you want to answer?
Yeah, so I mean, not directly an answer. See, we all keep reacting to a circumstance. Mujhe ye chahiye, mujhe wo chahiye. Last 1 week ago, close to 150, 175 people in our company, we had a complete Zoom conferencing call for an hour or two, only to acknowledge them on what they did on code since the lockdown. As I was doing that, there was a lot of comfort given to the team. A lot of thandak was given to them. A lot of motivation was done. A lot of empowering was done. A lot of listening out was done. So what I'm saying is, see, we want like yahan chalu karo, wahan pe bulb hona chahiye. In these circumstances, things won't happen. We have to look at the source of it. मैं क्या बात करे तो वो driver मेरा सुनेगा. मैं क्या बात करे तो my manager will listen to my driver. That is the inquiry which we have to keep putting in our space ongoingly. Keep empowering team. Keep listening them. I'm done.
Thanks. I take the final question from Bala, I think he's in Dubai, he's ex-Emirates. Bala, go ahead and ask your question. Bala, can you hear? Okay, I think Bala, can you hear? Okay, I think the question that he has already put it onto the chat. The question is actually to Ravinder of AI Sites. Do you see good clearance of import cargo or accumulation? How about your employees' ability to commute to from your facility? This is to Ravinder. AI Sites.
Okay.
It's a question is about the clearance of import cargo, or do you find the import cargo being accumulated? This is one of the biggest challenge for Mumbai airport, for example. I think it's also a similar case for many other cargo terminals. Is that something that you find?
We have been quite fortunate as far as Bangalore is concerned. Initially, during the first few days of the lockdown, import cargo was getting accumulated, but since the beginning of this month, slowly the customs brokers have actually started increasing their clearance activities. And right now, we see, for example, yesterday we cleared more than 100 tons of import cargo. So at this moment of time, we do not have much of an impact of import cargo accumulation. We still have only about 70% of import terminal which is currently occupied. And if necessary, Bangalore Airport has also offered us the opportunity to use some airside facility in the event that the accumulation goes beyond our available capacity. So currently, it's not much of an issue as far as Bangalore is concerned. As far as transportation of staff, yes, initially it impacted us tremendously. As I said, where we needed 65 people, we were getting 65 people in terms of blue-collar workers. We were getting only hardly 3 to 5 during the whole day, sometimes on a shift. But and this has been mainly due to interference from the villagers. They didn't want them to go to the airport to work, and there were checkpoint stoppages of transport and so on. But we have been able to work alongside with Bangalore Airport to get the necessary passes for our vehicles. And today, except for sporadic incidents, the transport problem is more or less stabilized, and we are not facing the type of issues that the number of issues that we faced initially earlier. It's much more settled down right now. And okay, we have one or two sporadic incidents now and then, but overall it's manageable.
Yeah, I do agree with you on particularly on, I think Bangalore Airport initially had a challenge in terms of what I think one of the panel members here actually mentioned about social ostracization, because the housing societies where people who worked in the airport cargo terminals, the flight crew, they had been like kind of asked to leave the housing society. They've been looked down upon us. I think that's a pretty serious issue and a concern for a lot of the people who are actually working upfront on the first defense, for example, as far as this crisis is concerned. That actually brings us to almost the end of the conversation, which has gone to about 90 minutes. I request each one of you to make your final comments in terms of what is that biggest learning that you have actually already learned or you're picking out from this current crisis as far as your business operation is concerned. A quick closing comment on that particular line, and if there is anything specific that you want to tell the participants here. Start with Kaushal. Kaushal, are you still there? I think Sanjeev has left. Sanjeev Gupta has left. Kaushal is still around? Okay. We will get Ravindra. from APEDA?
My final thoughts for today is that, there is a whole lot of, commitment being exhibited from the highest level in the ministries. In fact, what we have done is in that, there are task force which is being set up by the government of India, which is looking into the various areas. They are working closely with all the stakeholders. Coming on to specifically on the agriculture side, as I informed, there is promoting the exports of perishables. We have got a task force which has been spearheaded by the Additional Secretary Vandana Agarwalji, and then we meet every day at 2 o'clock to take stock of how the perishables can be exported. And then down below within the organization in APEDA, we sit every day between around 3-4 o'clock, assess everything, and then we see how far we are gone, and then how more we have to travel. We know that it's a challenging period. I agree with Vikram, then Hriday, and then and all the exporters, and then the transporters. I know it's a challenging time. But at the same time, I think the apprehension which Mr. Vikram was expressing that the drivers may go off after the lockdown is lifted. Maybe it may be also a short phenomenon where they would like to come back, and then where of course their livelihood is here in whichever the place they have been working for. So as a last word, I think we are there to support, and then the trade, and then we have been doing it as to the best, and then we would like to come forward and hear from the people. If there are any difficulties, we would like to talk to them. And laboratory was one issue which I forgot. There are certain tests which have to be undertaken before they are exported. Labs were not working. We took up with the laboratories and saw that the laboratories start functioning. So we are there to support you. Thank you. Thanks for inviting for this conference. Thank you.
Thanks, Ravindra. Kiran.
Yep. The same thing. It's automatic for us to sulk. As we sit, sulk. ये कब बंद होगा? ये कोरोना कब जाएगा? No, it will go the way it will go. Start accepting it. Keep listening out to your team. Keep empowering them. They need your generosity. We are that 5 or 10% of the Indian industry which we are working. People are sitting there, but we are coming out, bearing everything and serving the nation. We come under the essential sector. We are serving the nation. We have to keep patting our team, patting ourselves for doing that brilliant job. That will give us a lot of solace. When you are at solace, when you are at peace, you can give peace to your general manager, to your vice president, to your truck driver, to your packing people. Keep speaking to them. Keep listening them out. Keep having con calls. No right way to do it. You only know the right way to do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kiran. You can't give something if you do not have it with you. So that's you have to have peace within yourself. Vikram.
Yeah, for me, it's like it's a battle every day, and I have to motivate my army so that the supply chain and the logistics goes on smoothly. The customers have to be satisfied. The airline should get their cargo on time. The airport authorities should get that live cargo so that the further process can be initiated. And the thing is, like, we have to come up with some kind of a solution whereby we guys are creating an infrastructure at the airport or the port so that, the drivers are happy. They are given some kind of a medical facility so that, they get that kind of feeling that, yes, somebody is thinking about us. And if that feeling comes in their mind, trust me, they won't leave us in this battle, and they'll support us in all the possible means. And, the nation will grow. We'll have all the supplies going on, and there won't be any kind of a shortage arriving. And trust me, we guys me along with so many friends of mine, we guys are doing a level best 24/7, and we have not even stopped an hour since the day of this lockdown. We have completed all the movements, all the pharma movements, all the supply chain for your fruits and grapes and your watermelon and so many other stuff which are meant for export. So like even the kind companies have got good amount of support from us. and hope for the best. Like, we have to create that infrastructure which was not being given earlier to these guys, and we have to give them that kind of a support and a respect that you guys are the backbone of this nation, and because of you guys, we guys are running our show. And trust me, the industry has to take this initiative together.
Thanks, Vikram. Hriday.
Yeah. So positively, we should all feel positive at this kind of in this kind of situation. And if you think there will always be an opportunity to grab in any kind of crisis, so this is how we need to motivate our team also, and also we need to think that there will always be a good opportunity, whether there is a crisis or there is some or the other thing. And yes, after all this is taken care of, once everything resumes very fine, we have done our MBAs and post graduation, but we never take it seriously when we learn about crisis fund, which I'll definitely like to put it out to everyone that we need to going forward, we need to have good crisis funds, and so that we don't need to depend on anyone, and we can manage it, we can contain ourselves.
Thanks, Hriday. Karan?
Yeah, so I think everyone spoke that we have to be very positive. So I'm in concern with them that I think it's a opportunity. We should take it as an opportunity. We should explore new markets. As Mr. Ravindra rightly said, if we are not getting access to USA, maybe we look at Japan, we look at Australia, New Zealand, some other new markets. So it's a time where we sit calmly, patiently, and we just stress test our supply chain, and we understand what is the way forward. And I think taking this positively is the best attitude. Thanks.
Thanks, Karan. Ravinder?
Well, besides accepting the situation and being positive, as some of our fellow panelists have said, I think the additional comment I'd like to make is basically that the biggest learning from this experience is expect the unexpected, to be prepared for the worst, and definitely, not to take anything for granted. And we all have to learn to live with the tighter belts going forward, because there's going to be a
Thanks, Ravinder. I think that brings us to the end of the conversation. I don't see Sanjeev Gupta of Spice Express. I think he has already left a bit earlier. And Kaushal also must have, I think he also has left the conversation. Yeah, I think it's been more than 90 minutes of intense discussion and debate, a lot of inputs, a lot of takeaways from this discussion. A couple of things that I would want to highlight is everyone has a business to run. We do have our eyes on our profit margins and our bottom lines, but at the same time, this is a new normal for us. This is a time where we do not have a rule book for reference. It's every day is a new day, and it's a new normal that comes up. Like Ravindra said, expect the worst and be prepared for the best. But at the same time, you can hope that there is a good future ahead of us. Like someone said, that we are taking a lot of things for granted, but coronavirus and the COVID-19 pandemic is teaching us a lot of lessons. Again, another important term that keeps coming in the discussion is the collaboration. While we have our eyes on our bottom lines and our companies, it's also for us to kind of shake hands and collaborate to make sure that the entire country, the entire world is fighting together against this pandemic crisis, against this virus. Thank you all once again. It's been a pleasure talking to you, discussing with you, and debating with you on this particular topic. We all of us need to get back to our kitchen, pick up our food, and we know how difficult we all of us have been struggling to get our best food on the table. And all of us have contributed in some way or other to make sure that people do have food on their plate. And logistic does play an important role. And for the first time, people do take note of the tremendous amount of work that each one of us put in. Once again, thank you all for joining this panel discussion. We will have the video recording of this available probably by tomorrow morning. We will have it edited and uploaded. Thank you once again for all your news updates. Please do visit www.itln.in, and we have a very substantial coverage of what happens in the transportation and logistic space with special focus on COVID-19. Thanks once again. Have a nice day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Raji.